On her 35th birthday, Anna stepped into Harbor and Hearth, a warm little restaurant in Charleston known for slow jazz, grilled salmon and cornbread muffins that melted in your mouth. The hostess looked up with a smile. "Party of 7?" she asked, scanning the reservation list. "Yes," Anna replied softly. Her black heels clicked on the wood floor as she followed the hostess to a table near the window, right in view of the entrance. She wore a deep maroon dress with long sleeves. Not flashy but chosen with care. The kind of dress a woman wore when she still hoped someone would notice she wore it. Where are you watching from today? Kindly hit like, comment and subscribe to this channel for more. A young waiter approached. "Would you like me to wait for the rest of your party before taking your order, ma'am?" he asked. "Yes, please," Anna answered quickly, almost too quickly. "They're just running late." But deep down she knew the truth, they weren't coming. She glanced at her phone. 6:55 p.m. Still no call from her mother. No text from her siblings. Not even a casual, happy birthday from her cousin Bella. Her fingers tapped the edge of the bread plate. A small candle flickered in the center of the table, casting a lonely glow across the untouched place settings. Anna scrolled through her phone, pretending to check important messages. A bank alert. A coupon from a grocery store she hadn't been to in months. Then her stomach dropped. A text from her mother. "You're not our priority right now. Enjoy your dinner." 13 words. No, happy birthday. No explanation. Just a sentence that landed heavier than silence. Anna read it twice, then again. This wasn't forgetting. This was choosing. She placed her phone face down just as the waiter returned holding a gold-wrapped box. "Someone dropped this off for you earlier," he said with a polite smile. "Said it was from your family." Anna managed a quiet thank you, and began unwrapping it. Inside was a pale blue silk scarf. Her heart sank. She had bought this exact scarf for her mother 2 Christmases ago at a holiday market. She remembered the tiny snag on one edge where her mother's ring had caught the fabric. Beneath the scarf was a card. "Happy birthday from all of us." When she turned it over, faint traces of her own handwriting appeared. "Love you always, Mom." They hadn't even bothered to get a new card. She placed the scarf back in the box and steadied her breath. Around her, life carried on. A couple clinked wine glasses in celebration. A group laughed loudly at the bar. The soft hum of a love song floated through the air. But Anna felt invisible. She didn't cry. She didn't make a scene. She reached into her purse, pulled out a sticky note and wrote 5 simple words. She left it under her plate with a $20 bill for the untouched bread basket. Then she stood, slid her chair back in and walked out without looking over her shoulder. The night air in Charleston was cool as Anna walked back to her apartment. Streetlights reflected on wet pavement from a light rain earlier. She unlocked her door, kicked off her heels and set her purse down. The place smelled faintly of lavender from the candle she'd burned that morning. She poured herself a glass of water she didn't drink and sat on the edge of the couch, her hands resting in her lap as if she were still waiting for someone to show up. Her phone buzzed with a notification from Instagram. She hesitated, then swiped to open it. Her cousin Bella had posted a new photo. Anna tapped and her chest tightened instantly. There they were, her siblings, cousins, even her Uncle Mike, dressed up, champagne glasses raised, smiling wide. The location tag read the Magnolia House, one of the most expensive restaurants in Savannah, just 2 hours away. Bella stood in the center, wearing the same pale blue scarf that had been gifted to Anna only hours earlier. Anna's eyes moved to her brother David, who was holding out a shiny set of car keys. The caption read, "Cheers to the dreamer. David finally made it." Anna zoomed in on the photo. On David's wrist was the black leather watch with silver lining he'd shown her on a video call months ago, asking, "Too expensive, right?" She had told him yes, it was too much. He said he couldn't afford it anyway. And yet, there it was, gleaming on his wrist while her scarf was draped over Bella's shoulders. She stared at the screen, but her expression didn't change. This wasn't shock. This was confirmation. They hadn't just excluded her. They'd celebrated without her, using money she had given them in kindness. She reached for her laptop on the coffee table, opened a folder labeled Finances, and created a new document titled Support Unreturned. Her fingers moved steadily over the keyboard. David's school fees $380. Mom's plumbing repair $150. Bail money for cousin Jake $85. Birthday dinner she never attended $110. Surprise party for David. Indirectly funded by me $250. She paused, then copied Bella's Instagram post and pasted it at the bottom of the document. The smiling faces, the champagne, the caption. Anna sat back in her chair and studied it, not to make sense of it but to record it. Outside her window the city lights blinked. Inside her apartment felt both too quiet and exactly quiet enough. She saved the file, closed her laptop and whispered to herself, "This is what they chose." The next morning, sunlight crept through the blinds, but Anna didn't reach for her phone. She sat at the kitchen table with a mug of strong coffee, staring at her suitcase still sitting by the door. She had packed it the week before for a trip to Asheville with friends. But she'd cancelled when her mother called saying, "I called David first, but you know how boys are. Can you come fix the leaking kitchen sink?" Anna had agreed without hesitation. It wasn't okay, but she didn't know how to say no. She opened her laptop again and added a second tab to her document. She titled it Emotional Overdrafts. This list wasn't about money. It was about time she'd given when she couldn't afford to. Cancelled Asheville trip for mom's sink repair. Decorated for David's wedding reception. Never credited. Bought Christmas gifts for Bella's kids. Never thanked. Stayed up all night to drive mom to the ER. Took unpaid leave to help Jake's wife after surgery. Each line was like a stone she'd been carrying without noticing the weight. Anna's mind drifted back to David's wedding. She remembered being seated far in the back near the DJ's table beside a cousin no one talked to anymore. When the speeches began and David thanked his amazing family, his eyes swept the room without landing on her. Even the photographer skipped her table. She had ended up taking most of the photos herself. That was always her role, not to be seen but to capture everyone else being seen. Another memory came, Christmas Eve dinner 2 years ago. Just before the family photo by the tree, her mother had asked her to help real quick in the kitchen. She came out 20 minutes later with a tray of roasted sweet potatoes, only to hear her Uncle Mike say, "Oh, you're here?" She'd been there the whole time, just never counted. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from her friend Mia. "Hey, just so you know, my aunt overheard your mom at the market telling people you overreact to everything, that you've been too much since you were a kid." Anna blinked, then set the phone down. They weren't just silent. They were rewriting the story. Turning her absence into drama, her boundaries into selfishness. Without asking her side, they'd already chosen the narrative. Anna forwarded Nia's message to her email and labeled it, Narrative Watch. Then she opened her photo gallery and scrolled back 2 years. There was another family dinner. Everyone smiling, wine glasses raised. Her mother's dress glittered under the restaurant lights. David had already spilled sauce on his shirt. Bella wore a gold necklace she'd borrowed from Anna and never returned. Nana. She wasn't in the picture, because she'd been the one taking it. She whispered out loud, "I wasn't in the picture, because I was the one framing it." Her voice was steady but the words felt like a line being drawn. She wasn't just overlooked, she'd been edited out. Again and again. On Monday, Anna opened her mortgage account for the family house her father had left behind. She wanted to make sure her last payment had gone through. Instead, her breath caught when she saw a new document, an updated ownership deed. Her name, which had been on it for 4 years, was gone. The new owners, her mother and David. The document was dated 4 weeks ago. She called the county registry office. After a long hold, a tired-sounding clerk said, "Yes, it was processed last month. The signature page is attached. It lists your name." The woman paused. "Wait, your signature doesn't match the rest." Anna's voice didn't shake. "That's because it's not mine." The clerk hesitated, then said, "You might want to contact a lawyer." Anna hung up and sat staring at her screen. Her name had been erased from the house tied to her childhood, her father's memory and her own money. She opened a new folder and began pasting in every receipt, every bank transfer, every time she had covered a payment on that house. She renamed the file Not Forgotten, just ignored. The following evening a knock came at her door. Anna hesitated, then opened it to find her mother standing there with a supermarket gift bag stuffed with tissue paper. "I thought we could talk," her mother said, her smile practiced. Without waiting for an invitation, she stepped inside and perched on the edge of the couch like she didn't want to get too comfortable. "We thought you needed space," her mother began. Anna crossed her arms. After the birthday? She asked. Her mother avoided her gaze. You're just too sensitive, she said finally. Anna nodded slowly. No, Mom. I just stopped lying for you. Her mother's eyes narrowed. I didn't come here to apologize, she said. I just don't want people thinking we abandoned you. Anna almost laughed. So this isn't about me, it's about how you look to other people. Her mother didn't answer. Anna stood, walked to the kitchen and gently placed the gift bag into the trash can. No drama, no raised voice, just finality. She returned holding a folder she had prepared earlier in the week. Here, she said, handing her mother a single printed page. Every dollar I've given in the past 5 years. Rent, utilities, school fees, bail money, wedding decorations, hospital bills. Her mother stared at the page without speaking. Her fingers gripped it tightly, but her face stayed unreadable. Finally, she set it down and stood up. At the door, she turned and said, You'll regret this when you're alone. Anna opened the door wider. I've already been alone, she said softly. This time it's by choice. Her mother stepped out into the hallway without another word. When the door closed, Anna leaned her forehead against it and let out a slow breath. She didn't feel victory. She didn't feel guilt. She felt release. Friday evening came with dry autumn air. Anna didn't close her balcony door, letting the cool breeze drift in as she sat cross-legged on the couch with a blanket wrapped around her. She replayed her mother's last words in her mind. You'll regret this when you're alone. Alone wasn't punishment. It was space. Her phone buzzed with messages from the family group chat she hadn't looked at in weeks. This time the chat name had been changed to Family First Broken Heart, and they were talking about her in the third person. Don't invite her this year, she ruins the mood, Bella wrote. Anna muted the conversation and deleted it. Not out of anger but out of peace. That same night her lawyer's reply landed in her inbox. Final title adjustment confirmed. Your name no longer appears on the property. We can proceed with legal action. Anna read it twice. It wasn't good news, but it was closure. She opened her banking app, canceled the grocery delivery to her mother's house, logged out of the shared family photo archive, and changed her passwords one by one. Each action felt like untying another knot. Anna drafted one final message to the family group chat before deleting it completely. Handled what I needed. No further responses required. She didn't wait for replies. She opened a new folder on her laptop titled Closure is Mine and dragged everything into it. Title deeds, voice notes, screenshots, chat logs, every piece of proof. She wasn't saving it for revenge. She was saving it for record. One day if someone asked for her side she could simply show them. Later that night she passed by the hallway mirror on her way to the kitchen. She stopped for a moment expecting to see someone worn down by disappointment. But the woman looking back at her didn't look broken. She looked like someone who had walked through a storm and realized she was still standing. Anna smiled faintly and whispered, You broke me once, but this time I'm the one walking away. Saturday morning came without alarms or obligations. Anna brewed her favorite coffee, 2 scoops of the blend she never shared with guests, and opened her journal. On the first page she wrote, Lesson 1. You are allowed to leave the table when love is no longer being served. She underlined the sentence twice. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning of her own list. Her phone buzzed again, but she didn't reach for it right away. When she finally looked, it was Bella's latest post on Instagram, a group photo of the family at a barbecue. The caption read, Even when some disappear, family still stands. The comments were full of sympathy and backhanded jabs at Anna without naming her directly. Anna took a screenshot, forwarded it to her lawyer and labeled it Defamation Log 2. She didn't bother replying. Instead she walked to her bookshelf and pulled out an old hardcover her father had given her years ago. A folded slip of paper fell out, his handwriting in neat block letters. Giving is good but only when it is honored. If not, it turns into a burden. And burdens break. She sat with those words, letting them sink in deeper than they ever had before. That afternoon she began taking down framed photos from her living room wall. Bella's baby shower, David's graduation, Mom's community award, into a box marked for record. She left only one photo on display, her and her father sitting on the porch, both laughing under the summer sky. She taped it inside her closet door, hidden but safe. The only one that truly mattered. When night came, Anna lit the same candle she'd used at her quiet birthday dinner. Not because she was celebrating but to mark the shift. She pulled out a blank card and wrote herself a message. "Happy birthday, Anna. You are always worth showing up for." She placed it next to her father's photo. Outside, a motorbike roared past. Somewhere down the street someone laughed. Inside it was calm. Monday brought an email from her lawyer with an update. The fraudulent property transfer had been escalated, and there was a possibility of financial compensation. But Anna wasn't chasing money anymore. She was chasing dignity. She added the email to her case folder and requested 2 weeks off from work. No explanation. No justifying her time. It was hers now. She booked a stay at a small guest house in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Remote, quiet, and with no Wi-Fi. Just fresh air, a comfortable bed, and space to think. She packed soft clothes, her father's book, her laptop, and a brand new journal. Before locking her apartment, she took one last slow walk through the rooms. Everything in its place. Everything hers. The drive to the mountains was long, but it felt like freedom. She rolled down her window, letting the wind tangle her hair, and sang softly along to old soul songs on the radio. She stopped at a roadside stand for sweet tea and a slice of peach pie. When she finally arrived at the guest house, the receptionist handed her a key and said, "You look like someone running from the noise." Anna smiled. "No," she said. "I'm walking toward the quiet." The guest house was surrounded by tall pines and the sound of a nearby creek. Each morning, Anna woke to the gentle light of the sun spilling through sheer curtains. She'd walk barefoot along the stone paths, coffee in hand, breathing in the crisp air. No phone buzzing, no group chats to mute, just her thoughts steady and unhurried. On the second morning, she sat by the creek with her journal and wrote, "Lesson 2, your silence is not their sanctuary." She let the words sit on the page unedited because they were true. Then she added Lesson 3, you are not selfish for choosing peace. It felt like planting seeds she'd never been allowed to grow before. One afternoon she visited a small craft stand run by a woman named Claire. They struck up a conversation about handmade quilts, then about music and travel. Claire never once asked about Anna's family. She didn't try to fix her, didn't pry, she just listened. They ended up sharing cornbread and laughing until Anna's stomach hurt. For the first time in years she felt seen without having to earn it. That night she journaled again. Lesson 4. Sometimes strangers give you the space your family never could. She didn't write it with bitterness. She wrote it with gratitude. Gratitude for the reminder that kindness didn't have to come with conditions. Near the end of her stay, Anna hiked to a ridge just before sunset. The sky shifted from gold to deep violet, the kind of beauty that asked for no audience. She whispered a quiet thank you, to the wind, to the moment, and to the version of herself that had finally chosen her own side. The drive back to Charleston felt different from the one that had brought her here. The same roads, the same trees, but Anna wasn't the same. She stopped by the market for fresh flowers, something she'd never done just for herself before. At home she placed them in a vase on her kitchen counter. They didn't need to mean anything. They were simply hers. At her door sat an envelope with familiar handwriting. She didn't open it. She placed it in her closure is mine folder without reading a single word. Some endings didn't need an epilogue. They just needed a door that stayed closed. That evening she made a simple dinner, her favorite spicy chicken stew, and set a single place at her table. She lit a candle not for ceremony but because she liked the warm glow. She ate slowly, savoring every bite, every breath, every moment of quiet that belonged entirely to her. After dinner, Anna pulled her journal from her bag. There were now 10 lessons inside, each one earned through fire. At the bottom of the last page she added, Lesson 11. Peace isn't found. It's chosen. She closed the book gently, holding it against her chest for a moment before placing it in her desk drawer. She sat by the window with a cup of tea, watching the city lights blink in the distance. For the first time in her life, the silence around her wasn't heavy. It wasn't a punishment. It was a choice. She whispered into the stillness, this is the story I've been waiting to live. And this time there was no one to take her seat, because the table was hers. Moral lesson. When love becomes conditional and respect is absent, choosing peace over approval is not abandonment. It's self-preservation. Remember to hit the like button, comment and subscribe to this channel for more.